Hello guys, how we doing? Welcome back to the West Ham World YouTube channel. It's Luke here. I hope you're all doing well. It's Monday morning. I was going to go at 11, but something's happened and I've had to go live at 10, a little bit earlier than scheduled. I don't know how many will get live at this time in the morning. But yeah, just really wanted to have a little talk about the things that have happened since the weekend. Obviously, I did that video Friday night when I was playing snooker. And set up, yeah, to get back on, and then things happened. Me and my missus ended up going to watch the Michael Jackson show at the West End and stuff like that, and then just loads of things got in the way. I ended up seeing Fantastic Four on a Sunday, so I couldn't get online to do a video. So this is my first chance to get on and talk to you guys. Just start the video really with congratulations to the England women's team on retaining the Euros. Good, great for them. Put the men to shame, really, don't they? They've 1-2, lost in the final. That's the next stage for them now. If they want to, obviously they've secured their legacy, this team, this manager. But if they really want to be like untouchables, they're legends, whatever now. But if they want to be untouchables, it's going and win that World Cup in 2 years' time, and they'll be right up there. So yeah, so congratulations to them. You guys would have known by now. You would have seen all the other channels do a video, and I even, like I said, I did a video myself on Friday, more or less straight away. The Paqueta has, more or less been cleared now. It's more or less confirmed, apart from the official channels. Like I said at the time, it was only a quick video, so I couldn't really process everything and say what I wanted to say. I'm happy for him. I really am happy for him. He looks happy. He looked happy the other night, and when he came on, he was, bouncing, full of confidence. There's loads of rumours that West Ham will be, looking to sell him, which I'd be absolutely gutted about. I think we should be trying to keep him for a year. I commented on Claret and Boozie's channel last night saying that for me, Paqueta we should be trying to keep him. It's a World Cup year, which means every international player, usually their performance levels go up. They go up a level because they want to get in that World Cup squad. There's no coincidence. If you probably go back in history and look at a player's form before a Euro tournament or a World Cup tournament, they would have had their best seasons in that season before a big tournament. I was initially very worried when the rumours were coming out that it was going to be 30 million we were prepared to accept, which would be absolutely ridiculous for a 27-year-old player. Even a 28-year-old player can still give you, a player of Paqueta's sort of quality and style. He's not a player that relies on pace or anything like that. He's quick mind, drop the shoulder, ability to turn, that ability to pass. If you're buying a 27-year-old, let's be a bit more fit. Let's say 28-year-old, okay? You still get 5 years out of him. 30 million, 5 years. That's ridiculous. And this is a cleared Paqueta now. This is a cleared Paqueta, fresh mind, open mind. And then I think it was currently Hugh and ex-West Ham employee. Listen, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Said that West Ham would not accept a bid less than 60, ideally 70 for him. Again, don't want to sell the man. Do not want to sell the man, but a 60 million would be slightly easier to swallow than seeing him leave for 30 million, which would have been absolute horrendous. Because what I would have imagined would have happened was he would have gone back to Flamengo for a year or so, see his family, blah, blah, blah. And then probably no doubt he would be back in the Premier League or back in Europe for an inflated price. And again, West Ham miss out again. West Ham business would have been terrible. What has been said as well is the decision to sell him is up to the player and the manager. I assume if you were Graham Potter, you'd want to keep him, no? Paqueta, like I said, I can understand why he would want to go. Maybe he wants to get out of England, a new challenge, whatever. But I think we should try 1 year. I genuinely think, look, mate, stay for 1 year, go wherever you want next year for 45, 50. If he has a really good season, a good World Cup, he'd be 28 and, be looking reasonable value. Please comment like Brian has. Brian says he's delighted for Paqueta and he hope he stays. I'm baffled by some people who would prefer having Harvey Elliott over Paqueta. Yeah, I wouldn't have Harvey Elliott over Paqueta, but I do want Harvey Elliott. I like him. I like him. I think he can be. Do you remember how good Conor Gallagher was when he went to Crystal Palace, and we was all a little bit like, oh, I wish we would have got him. I wish we would have got him. He would have been like just that extra piece in midfield. It would have been Rice. I think it would have been Rice, Soucek, and Gallagher at the time. But then maybe we wouldn't have got Paquetá. So it's a tough one, isn't it? Yeah, by no means am I saying it, or I don't think many people would say over Paquetá. Again, I might be wrong, but I personally, like I say, I'd like to see both. Why not have both? Show a bit of ambition, West Ham. There are other players out there that can be sold. I think. I'd like to think we can raise some funds. Like Emerson will go. I reckon Areola will go. I reckon we'll sign a first choice goalie and potentially a second choice goalie. One of them centre backs I imagine will go. Who I don't know. Preferably for me, I would like West Ham to sell Max Kilman, but you're not going to get anywhere near the 40 million. Maybe one of Soucek and Ward-Prowse go. Would be dream scenario, but can't see that. And then why are West Ham not trying to go? Let's have Alvarez, another one that could go as well. Why are West Ham not fully going all out to get that midfield of Paquetá, Harvey Elliott, and Douglas Luiz? If that was our free mid, with someone like Soucek to come on, and then you've got Potts, you've got that young boy if he gets given a chance, that Pearson guy who looked fantastic, didn't he, the other day? I'd be really happy with that. If West Ham started a game with Douglas Luiz, Paquetá, and Harvey Elliott, that'd be amazing. But it ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. This dream world scenario, of that happening. Yeah, like I said, I hope Paquetá stays, but I don't know. Who knows? Apparently the goalkeeper's very close. The Leicester goalkeeper. I believe Newcastle have shown some late interest, but West Ham still slightly in front because we're slightly ahead of the negotiations. So yeah, we'll wait and see. A goalkeeper's definitely coming in. There's definitely a goalkeeper coming in. There's also, if the Leicester guy falls through, there's the Sheffield United goalkeeper as well that we're heavily linked with if it falls through. Brian says, I'd like to see the starting midfield against, mate, 100%. I do never, ever want to see a midfield of Rodriguez, Ward-Prowse and Soucek again. It's too slow. It's too immobile. None of them are ball carriers. None of them can drop the shoulder. None of them are quick enough in the pass. Listen, James Ward-Prowse has great passing stats because he passes safe every time. But there's never a risk. He never takes a risk. And, we need some players that want to scruff of the neck players that really want to go for it, winners, leaders. Nick from Claret Booth says it quite well. There's this thing at West Ham at the minute where, like, Potter wants to surround himself by players that are not superstars, that are easier to manage, let's say. An Alvarez kicks off, a Paquetá potentially is a bit of a kicker off in the dressing room, a Fulcrum and people like that. He wants players like the Souceks, like the Ward-Prowse, that won't moan, just dependable, yes men. And that's not. It's good to a certain extent. You don't want too many rattlers, but you need some. You need some that are going to question the tactics. They're winners. They're not doing it out of spite or malicious. It's a winning mentality. When Fulcrum had come out and did that interview, we was all like, yeah, that's what I want to be. And what a character he looks like, that man. What a character Fulcrum looks like. He looks such a great character, a proper leader of men. You need more of them. West Ham of old were, full of them. Monker, Julian Dick, Stuart Pearce, Lucas Niels, Billy Bonds, Alvin Martins. We're leaders of men, with such a lack of that now in football. What we got here? Harvey Elliott would transform us. He was amazing in the under-21s. He was, mate. He was, and I want him. I do want him. I do want him. I do. He would really lift me. It would lift me mentally. It'd be like, okay, I see what you're doing. But if we sell Paquetá, Harvey Elliott isn't enough. That isn't enough. There would need to be a really special signing, and I don't think you get a player as good as. You might get a rough diamond like the El Canoes or the Southampton guy. I do like him. There's another one I can't remember. The Wolves guy, maybe someone like that. I don't think we could afford that Gomez, the Wolves guy. But there's players out there. There are players out there, but you wouldn't get that ready-made special player. And under the way Potter plays and under the way Moyes played and Lopetegui, because it's especially under Lopetegui and Potter, it's a possession-based game for the sake of possession. It's if we've got the ball, the other team can't score. It's not we Potter doesn't play if we've got the ball, we're trying to score. And then that's what happens is what's been happening in recent games at the end of last season and in the pre-seasons, what we've seen so far, is we'll play it about, and then you'll pass it to someone like the goalie who 2 mistakes horrific, and then you can't pass the ball around just for possession's sake then because you're chasing the game, and it's very hard to switch that mindset into, well, now we've got to pass the ball and it's got to be quick and we've got to be trying to get the ball up the pitch. And then you end up relying on the difference makers like Jarrod Bowen and Paqueta. So if you sell Paqueta, Jarrod Bowen's supply line goes. Bowen is good enough to create by himself. He's amazing. We're so lucky to have that guy. But he's got to have a supply line. You're only as good as your supply line. Sorry, back in the chat. If Paqueta stays for next season and performs the same as we will lose out financially, fans don't know which Paqueta we'll get. I think we'll get a better Paqueta. I do. I think if he stays, mate, it's a fair point. You don't know what Paqueta you're going to get, but I do think if he stays, because it's a World Cup year, I think you will see top level performances from him. I really do. At the end of the day, the man's career was on the line. He potentially at one point was thinking, maybe I'm facing jail time as well. He probably desperately just wanted to get out of the club and the country, not because he hates the fans, not because he doesn't like West Ham or anything like that. His big move. Remember, he's not a West Ham fan. His big move to Manchester City fell through. He would have been on 300 grand a week. I do believe that was it the year he was meant to go there? Was that the year they won the treble? Or they just won the treble? I can't remember. This is a man who was going to be probably Kevin De Bruyne's replacement, and that opportunity's gone now. So he'll want to prove a point how good he is. He'll want to be in that Brazil team. So I think you would get good performances out of him. Brian says, I'm expecting peak Paqueta now. Now that the court case is out of the way, he's our best player, in my opinion. I think Bowen's our best player, but Paqueta's probably our most gifted player in terms of if he was on it all the time, he would be easily our most gifted player. We didn't have Pete Kudus last since and no issue outside. Yeah, but I think with him, again, played out of position and he sulked. And he did. He sulked. He sulked about being played out of position. He lost his rag, got banned in games. Just wasn't. He only showed up against the Liverpools, the Arsenals, when he was putting himself in the shop window. And yeah, I think that's what it was with Kudus. I don't think, and I agree with what you said earlier on, I don't think we miss him because he wasn't anywhere near good enough. But if Paqueta stays and he's good again, it'll be great for us. It will. If he's not good, we've not really lost anything because he wasn't that great last season either. But he still had his magic moments. He still scored goals. He still set up goals, just not as many as he had done the previous season. What we got here? Paqueta on another level to Kudus. We'd miss Paqueta. I don't think we'd miss Kudus. Yeah, I don't think we're going to miss Kudus. I don't, because we didn't get enough out of him. Yeah, we'll miss his ball carrying ability. You know, there's no denying when dribbling with the ball. You know, he was more on when he was on it, impossible to stop. He would, you know, he'd do that back thing and he'd just run at players, and his dribbling was brilliant. But at the end of the day, his best position is right wing. And we, in my opinion, have, depending on where you rate Saka, we have the second or third best right winger in the Premier League in Jarrod Bowen. Mo Salah is first. There's no denying that. And like I say, whether you rate Saka above him in second or you rate Bowen second, he's in the top three right wingers in the league, Jarrod Bowen. And Kudus isn't, at the moment, above them three players, you know. And we have one of them in Jarrod Bowen, and he doesn't get in front of him. We need an improvement all over the field. Which positions would you like to see filled? It's midfield, mate. Sorry, I'll go back to the comments in a minute. Let me just stop that there. So, Leon, midfield for me is the most important. I think other positions we can get by. I understand why he wants the goalkeeper to play the football he wants to play. You know, it may become a little bit more effective with that, with a goalie that's a bit more, you know, comfortable with his feet. But it will mean nothing if there's a midfielder there who can't turn on the shoulder. You know, not as good as a Rodri, but, you know, like someone who can receive it in that midfield, turn on the shoulder and release. You know, if we haven't got that, and if we haven't got any physicality, destroyers, monsters, box to box, energy. Like I always say, there's a couple of midfields in the Premier League that always really impress me, and that's Newcastle's with Tonali, Gomes, Joe Linton. It's balanced. There's just so much balance in that team. There's destroyers, there's box to box, there's tricky, there's, you know, silky players. Then I like Aston Villa's midfield as well. Tielemans, Rodgers, McGinn, and then they've got, you know, Ramsey, unless he goes. It's balanced. There's balance there, and we haven't got that. It's just all the same. It's all the same. Rodriguez, Ward-Prowse, Soucek, all slow, all not the best on the ball, all got no pace. Slight physicality, maybe. None of them can run with a ball. And then, again, like I say, it gets exposed. The midfield is where you win games in the Premier League. And if we don't sort that, I'm worried. I am genuinely worried. If I see, and I think we will, against Sunderland, see the midfield of Soucek, Ward-Prowse, and if Paqueta is there, maybe Paqueta. It's not good enough. That midfield is not good enough to be where we want to be, back challenging for Conference League places. Was really impressed with Potts and Ferron against Man United. Hopefully they'll get more run at. Yeah, I hope so, mate. Potts looks good. Potts looks ready. You know, genuinely looks ready. Like he could play, look comfortable. He won't look any worse. And this is not me putting him down. It's just saying, why are you being held back? He will look no worse than Ward-Prowse, no worse than Soucek, and no worse than Rodriguez. He looks better. He's got that young Declan Rice about him. He's confident on the ball. He's a West Ham fan. It gives you energy, gives you legs, gives you passion, and no fear. Yeah, I really hope Pac-Man stays. We'll see a different man. Believe with a couple of pacey youngsters like Elliott, we would be somewhat dangerous for a change. Yeah. I really wish we don't sign Callum Wilson. I prefer. Oh yeah, that's a good point to say. About Callum Wilson. Oh my God, please God. It looks like it's going to happen. But my God, what a absolutely deflating signing. It's typical West Ham. I called it in work. Liverpool fan, my mate in work, I said to him, West Ham are either going to sign Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Callum Wilson. It's a typical West Ham signing. Yeah, it's uninspiring. He slated us off loads of times. Listen, a few years ago, I would have had him. Before he went to Newcastle, I would have had him. He's a great goal scorer. He was a great goal scorer. But not now. And Antonio obviously scored 2 goals. Great to see, just purely because of the journey and how he's come back from that. But again, I don't want to see him Do you guys honestly want to see Callum Wilson, Antonio Fulkrug? No, 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 no. Not both. Not both. Either or. I really don't want Antonio to stay. I don't, and that's not me going, oh, you're disrespecting a legend, Luke. No, we have to move on. Like with Soucek as well. Like, I'm not getting Soucek down as a sub, but I don't want Potter to have that option. I don't want Potter to have the option of Antonio. I don't want Potter to have the option of Soucek. I want him to be forced to do something different and think of something different. All that happens is you just end up relying on these players. Like Antonio is 34 years old. 34 years old. He's been great for us. He's a great servant. I hope he gets a farewell. But no, by God's sake, get rid of him, please. James Will-Prowse is a human crab. Spot on, Luke. The midfield needs sorting. Concerns me how much Potter likes James Will-Prowse. It's because he's safe, mate, and he don't moan. Maybe it will need Sunderland midfield to prove us is falling for Potter to see it. Maybe, but what evidence have you got, mate? Surely he's seen that midfield is awful. He was seeing that towards the end of last season, and he still didn't change it until 75th minute, and then all of a sudden, West Ham start pinging the ball around and popping the ball around and look like we can actually play some football. We've got to start with that midfield, then change it. If you want to change it then to the slow midfield that are just going to sit and block and you're holding out a 2-0 lead or whatever, and you're trying to short it up by all means. But I never get managers that set up to listen, you've got to keep it tight. You have to keep games tight because there are teams in there that will absolutely destroy you in 20 minutes. We've seen Arsenal do it to us. We've seen Liverpool do it to us. And Newcastle at times, we've seen them do it to us. But you've got to go out to win. Not, there's 20 minutes left. We'll really go for it if we're still in the game. Because then when you go 1-0 down, you're chasing the game. They can sit back and relax. You've got to put yourself in a position of power that you decide the tempo of the game. You decide when you can have the rest periods. We're not good enough to sit there on a 0-0. We've got to go at teams. And when teams do go at these big clubs, see Palace do it over the years, Brighton's do it over the years, they don't like it. To quote Colonel Jones from Dad's Army, they don't like it up them. They don't. And we've got to become that sort of team. I honestly don't know why we aren't giving a few of our youth team in our midfield in these piss-pot pre-season games. I don't, mate. I'd like to see them start. There was triangles going on. That's that no fear. These games mean nothing. You can lose these games 5, 6, 7s. Let them make mistakes. Let them get used to each other. It looked like Paqueta enjoyed playing with the youngsters because they had no fear. He could pass the ball to them and trust them. We lack so much of that. We need a Lanzini sort of player as well. Who's just, again, he's got that drop of the shoulder. He can move. He's a real attacking threat. We need to replace people like that. We haven't replaced Lanzini either. I play Potter, James Will-Prowse every day, 100%, mate. He can only pass it sideways. His free kicks have gone. Time he was gone from West Ham, I agree, mate. What we got here? We bought in James Will-Prowse for spot kicks and it's not worked. No, Emerson scored a better free kick than him last season. That absolute worldie. I think Cresswell scored one as well last year. I can't remember, but I remember Emerson scored an absolute worldie. Ralph says, went on a West Ham site last night and was moaning about our starting mid and how I have no faith in Potter as he has the same old. I'm a realist. I'm a West Ham fan. Yeah, mate, 100%. Until I see him start a more mobile and a more progressive midfield against Sunderland, because forget the friendlies. Listen, the friendlies are friendlies. I want to see the kids play, but he could play the kids every game in the friendlies. Until I see him start players in the Prem and what that first lineup is against Sunderland, I can't say that I'm going to see anything different because I know what the midfield's going to be. Unless Harvey Elliott comes in before Sunderland or, I don't know, El Canoes or whoever some of these really, decent players we're linked with, a Douglas Luiz, whatever on loan, then who knows? But genuinely, who knows? I really hope we go and buy Douglas Luiz outright, or we get both on loan with options. Harvey Elliott with an option, Douglas Luiz with an obligation if he plays 20 games or whatever. Get 2 on loan, because then there's still money to go and get the goalie. Maybe, I don't know. I still think we potentially need cover at right wing if Bowen was to break down. Hopefully he doesn't. Potter has started too many defensive players today. He has, Brian, mate. We don't ask for or expect much, but want to see something, Ralph says, not the same old crap. Yeah, that's it. I know football's changed and not for the better. All these systems and, wingers are not allowed to dribble anymore, and long range shooting is not something that's encouraged anymore. And even crosses are not really encouraged anymore, are they? But yeah, I want to see a bit of passion and a bit of excitement. When we used to really go for teams, really want it and win, and teams would come to West Ham and just be like, we're in for a game today, because they're gonna go for us and they're gonna be really up for it. We ain't had that for a few years now. Luke, Potter is not for us, mate. No creativity. I have no faith in his style. I agree, mate. There's nothing that he's shown me yet that gives me any faith. You do get the argument of once he gets his players, blah 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 blah. Yeah, okay. But what I always say back to people that give it, he hasn't had this and this and this. I always say, who improved? Who's improved under him? I think you've got a slightly better Paqueta than what he had been for a little while. He looked good. But who improved? Wan-Bissaka was already really good. Bowen was already really, really good. Who improved? Who improved under Lopetegui? Where at least, under Moyes, certain players did improve, then they sort of went backwards. I hate keep saying about Newcastle. I hate keep saying it's because I really like Eddie Howe. Under Eddie Howe, that is a man who gets every ounce out of his players, and he genuinely improves players. That's the manager I want to see. A good manager can work with what they've got and improve it and make it work. I don't think that is Potter. I don't think he fully knows what to do with Jarrod Bowen, but he knows that Jarrod Bowen's his best player and he has to do something. He tries him as a striker and then eventually realises, late in the game, if I put him into right wing, he will get a goal for us. It's all good and well being a coach that, plays 3 at the back or 5 at the back, whatever you want to call it. But if you've got a player, like I keep saying, who's in the top 3 wingers in the country, you have to play a formation that somehow gets Jarrod Bowen on the right wing. You have to adapt. You have to come up with a new formation that suits our best player. That's what a good manager does. A good manager is not rigid in his formation and rigid in That's why I don't think Amorim would have fully succeeded at West Ham, because I think he would have been a bit too rigid with it. Good managers adapt and they develop styles that suit and get the best out of their players. Freedom Sound says they won't be so prominent in future games, especially when Alvarez returns. They're in the shop window, and we're lucky to have Potter in charge at this stage. Fearon is the future, which will be bright. I hope so, mate. I hope Fearon does wonders for us. He looked really, really good in that little cameo that we see of it. Luck, same old, same old. I'd like us to invest in a young coach with new ideas. I agree, mate. I never have much interest in pre-season friendlies, only when there is an influx of new players to see how they gel and how they get into games and give Potter a go. Yeah, to be honest, the only reason I usually watch the pre-season game is to see the kids play, because you very rarely get chances under current managers. And it's always good to see what's there, to see the Pottsies and a surprise of Fearon the other day. And Alford, I thought Alford looked really good in the first game. And like I say, you got to see Juve as well. I don't like how Guilherme's being used. I think he's being scapegoated. by Potter. I might be reading a bit too deep into it, but how I see it is he's putting him in that right wing position, makes him look bad, and then it's like some fans, not all, some fans will be like, "Oh, he ain't that good. What's he done?" And it's like, yeah, but he's not playing in the right position. A bit like I said, a defender could lose a little bit. He weren't playing in his right position last year. But yeah, Guilherme, he needs to be in the centre mid or left wing. You know, play him in the left wing so he can run at players and show his trickery. Every time I've seen him, I think he looks really, really good. But he's not going to do that at right wing back. It's a really, you know, niche position that is. You've got to be really good at defending, really good at going forward. He's got to go forward, but you know, he don't want to do the defensive work. That's not what he is. Trouble is, Sullivan will only ever employ managers that are out of work. Therefore, they've failed at their last job and go top of the wanted list. Yeah, mate. If Graham Potter is gone by Christmas, the only man that is coming in at West Ham is Sean Dyche. There's nobody else. Like I would love, and I asked this question to a lot of you guys. It could be an absolute disaster, but it would give us the football we wanted. I would love Big Ange to come in. He don't mind playing the kids. He plays attacking football. It can be absolutely car crash at times, but I believe he would get what we are. I believe he would, and the fans would get behind him. I want to see Guilherme, but in his best position. I think we all do, mate. I think we all want to see that. I'm trying to think, yeah, or it would be like one of the first managers sacked that would come in. You know, Sean Dyche, Ange, if you don't get a job before then, or someone else. Well, we should be going for the David Silvers. Even the Crystal Palace guy, I quite like him. He seems like a really good manager, doesn't he? If Scotty Parker has a good season with Burnley, again, he's a bit of a pragmatist, Scotty, but he is a West Ham legend, so that's the only thing that sells it for me with Scotty. I wish we would have got. I wish we would have got Will Stillwin. Yeah, but West Ham fan, isn't he? Do you know how close Somerville is making to making a return? He don't look far away, does he? Listen, I'm not even know or anything like that, but he don't look far away. He's training and he looks like he's running and stuff, you know, on grass, as they say. Wouldn't surprise me if he's back for maybe, I don't know, this is not me in the know at all, but maybe after the Chelsea game, like the Chelsea League game, he might be back after that, or they might just hold him out till after the international break. And then maybe he sort of makes his return in that first League Cup game. We'll see. Luke is the same with Pac-Man. Yes, he's been poor due to circumstances. The past season needs to be played right. Needs freedom, needs movement in front of him to pick out the passes. Yeah, love it. I hope he does, mate. I genuinely hope Pac-Man stays and we see the best of him. At least he would hate Spurs as much as our fans. I reckon he played Marshall to foul, and he didn't. And now he needs to be considered. Yeah, and he looks good. He looks sharp. He's got that finish, and he's got that Jermaine Defoe finish and movement, you know, and he's greedy, he's horrible, you know, what strikers should be. You know, I like a greedy striker that wants to score goals and it becomes an obsession. I don't know if you guys listen to TalkSport much, but I only listen to the Goldstein show really because the other one's quite unbearable. But Darren Bent always says about strikers, you know, strikers are different. You have to be hungry. You have to be greedy. I don't want you squaring it across the box. I want to score a goal every game. I dream about it, obsessed about it, you know. And I think Marshall gives me that vibe. He gives me that sort of energy that he dreams of scoring goals and wants to be that. I didn't know he came from Glengormley actually in Belfast. I don't know if you guys know, but that's actually where Paul lives from the channel. Paul lives where Callum Marshall's from, in Glengormley. Yeah, right near there. Yeah, so I think the school he went to is about 10 minutes from him. So yeah, a little thing for the channel there. I think that's really it, guys, for today. There's not much else out there. Obviously, we play Everton on Wednesday, the Moyes derby. Hopefully, we can get a result against them. I hope we do. What we got here? Potter hasn't a clue where to play our players in the best position. Yeah, he's so rigid, mate, in the tactics. Like I said, with Potter, with Bowen and stuff, you know, he's so rigid in his tactics that he perceives works and works at Brighton that, he feels he has to do that, and that's the only thing he can work with. That's not a good manager. That's not a good manager. Well done. You found a system that worked before, and it was very effective. But a good manager adapts and keeps guessing. You don't know what the lineup's going to be. You don't know all these little off runs that are going to happen. One thing I give David Moyes in the season, I'm not a Moyes fan at all, but under the season where Jesse Lingard and you had Rice doing that thing where Cresswell would go and he would cover in, just those little subtleties like that. And then that game against Villa, do you remember when we doubled up? He played two right back. I think it was Fredericks and Soufal doubled up on Grealish. It's all little things like that, little clever things. But then Moyes sort of seemed to run out of that. Hopefully the FA announced official verdict of Paqueta today. Yeah, probably hopefully this week, mate. Will Young said, William Young, Will Young's a singer. Thanks, Luke, for the show. If you're new, guys, and you're here, please hit the like button. It really helps. I've been seeing a lot of channels sort of preaching about this, and please hit the subscribe button. I really want to hit 5K. We've been a channel for bloody 10 years, and we've never hit that 5K. I know I've had gaps where, I weren't on the channel for a year or 6 months out and stuff like that. But I really want to hit that 5K. It would be a nice milestone to hit for me. So please get us out there. And hit the like button before you leave. Thank you for joining me live. I know it's early. Glen Gormley Marshall is from Luke. Yeah, Glen Gormley. That's where Paul lives. Paul lives Glen Gormley. So yeah, that's it from me today. Nice 40-minute show for you guys. Great to talk to you as always. Might do one later in the week, maybe after the Everton game. Have another one of these. Like I say, I'm off now still for another 5 weeks with the school. So yeah. Come on, you irons, keep believing, hit the like button, tell your mates about us as well. I know you know me because I've recognised all the time in Southend, Benfleet, Stratford. So yeah, if you're not subscribed, make sure you are. Let's go.